Anyway, welcome back from the coffee break. We're here again with Max Maker, who some of you may be very familiar with, Pat Regan, and myself, of course. Yeah, Pat. Pat Max was saying we maybe wanted to ask us about some more projects, but before he does that, I have a couple small questions for him. First of all, been hearing about, obviously there's a lot of conflict in Europe these days, and I remember a few months ago they were talking about how it was going to be so cold in Germany and that was going to be a problem. What's what's that been like,
Yeah,
Max? Has that been a problem or has it been not a
it's
problem?
well, lucky for me, it's not a problem because we have a heat pump heater. So it converts, it works like a refrigerator. Refrigerator becomes
Right.
cold on the inside, warm on the outside. And we've got it for the house, but it makes the outside colder and the house warmer. So it runs on electricity, not on gas. And for the first year, that was perfectly fine. We didn't have any changes. But since this year, we pay double the price for heating. But because this is a low energy house, the heating bill for the entire house went from 2 grand to 4 grand a year.
And when you say heating, is that gas or is that
No, it's
electricity or is that
electricity for the heat pump.
okay?
Yeah.
And that would include your lights and stuff too, I guess.
No, no, that's just the heating. Just electricity for the heating.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting. They break that out.
No, it has its own electricity meter because it has a special tariff for the heat pump. Because they can shut it off, for example. Like if they have an emergency, they could shut off the heating for a few hours,
Okay.
which they can't do to normal customers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because we don't need the electricity, guaranteed 24 hours flat like a server needs it. We just need a few moments a day. And because we use that little heating for the house because it got so good insulation, the price increase, okay, it's double the price, but it's still not that much money for free apartments. But
Right.
other people that use oil or gas, for them it's much more expensive.
Okay.
Like
But
maybe twice or 3 times.
it's available though. You can get it if you need it. Is that
Yeah, yeah, we've
okay?
got no shortage. Something that nobody thought was possible because we got, I think, 70% of the gas from Russia, and for 80 million people, 70% of the gas. That's just a huge amount of gas. And somehow
Oh
we
yeah.
managed to get all of the gas just from Norway and Holland and a little bit from Qatar with tanker ships. So it's almost a miracle that we got all this gas.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's great.
for a much higher price, but you know,
Yeah.
that's that's Russia, and we can't do anything about them.
Sure. Well, now it's been a fairly warm winter as far as that goes, right?
Yeah,
Or is that okay?
yeah. Normally these winters are like this. It's hovering around 0 degrees. In the south it's a bit colder. Here in the north it's a bit warmer.
Hmm.
But it's
That's
been a good winter for that.
that's not what you would expect in general. That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
think it's from the Gulf Stream, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say about. They say that Florida is not as hot as it could be because of the Gulf Stream, but it's still pretty pretty hot here.
Yeah, and they say England is warmer because of the Gulf Stream. It almost never freezes in England, even though they're just as high north as we are.
Yeah, and you guys are as far north as Canada,
Yeah,
but your temperatures are
Okay.
more like Maryland, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Well, we've got enough gas, but everything got more expensive. So especially for those at the lower income brackets, it's really a struggle. Tomatoes are like 3 times the price now.
I keep hearing about eggs. How are you guys doing with eggs?
Yeah, I think it's still fine. I don't buy that many eggs, but yeah, everything is more expensive. But I've heard it in America, it's like 3 times the price for
That's
eggs.
what I hear.
I believe that the whole thing with America was there was some sort of avian flu or something like that, and I think it wiped out a lot of the chickens or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was some problem. I don't think it was related to any sort of conflict in Europe or
No,
anything.
Jeremy
Although
is not a farmer. He doesn't know
I'm not.
exactly
No,
what
I'm not a
happened.
farmer, but I do know that when I went to Costco last time, I had to buy the giant thing of eggs rather than the smaller things because they were out of them. It was actually pretty reasonably priced there, but I think they're maybe supplementing that some to try to keep because they try to keep customers and stuff, I guess. But I had heard that at Publix, which is kind of like a nicer grocery store, it's like $8 for a dozen, something like that.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I heard that the free range grass-fed, whatever kind of chickens that lay eggs, those eggs have not gone up in price. They've always been like $10 or $11 for a dozen, or $12 or whatever.
Well, that makes sense because these free-range chickens were practicing social distancing,
the whole
so they
time.
were able to
Yeah.
the whole time. So they were able to avoid any problems. But yeah, well, that's good to hear. I guess hopefully things will go back to normal. Whatever that means these days.
I think we can't go much more crazy than times we have now. I think this is the average. 10 years ago, 13 years ago, we had the swine flu, and before we had the financial crisis, and before that we had like the bombings in London and in Spain, and before that 9/11. There's always a crisis. But yeah, war with Russia, we didn't have that for many years. This time they lose.
Just happened to catch one of your videos, and it was you repairing a washing machine, and I thought it was hilarious because you're like, yeah, this washing machine, it's got some change stuck in it probably. What you can do is take the screws out, but you didn't do that. You didn't even explain that what you were doing. Really, you just took out a grinder and cut the material out. It was ingenious and barbaric at the same time. It was amazing. And basically, you just cut a slot in this thing for you to access the change thing or whatever.
The change.
Yeah, well, the washing machine. It has a small motor at the bottom right corner, and that spins the fluid around. No, pumps the fluid out of the washing machine. And I had this error. Yeah, it cannot pump or empty the washing machine. So I checked everything I could from the outside, and I couldn't find anything. You can open the motor and remove some stuck hair, but it was all clean. And when I looked inside the opening, you can't really get in there, but with the finger I could just about feel like there's an obstruction. And it turned out I got a tiny mirror, looked inside this small hose, and I could see something shiny, and it was a 50-cent coin that fit perfectly flush into the end of the pipe. And it's bigger than the pipe, so you can't get it out, so you have to go on the inside. And that meant taking the big dryer that's on top off of the washing machine, putting it on the bottom, then removing so many panels to get to the stupid pipe, and then removing the pipe. And after I did that the first time, a few weeks later, I had another coin stuck in there. So I thought I need to do this more often. And then the second time, I just grabbed the angle grinder and cut off the panel. And I stuck it back on with tape. So since I'm the maintenance guy here, I know that these washing machines, they just last for 10 years or so anyway. So why not cut a hole into it? It's not like I'm cutting a hole into my car.
I've done that before.
They go crazy on the comments. They say this is complete. I can't possibly call this a fix.
I mean, yeah, I see their point, but I see how it's amazing. It's a strange string that straddles the line between genius and insanity. I guess that's what it is, right? But I did notice though. So you said you made a little comment about how you had a new camera girl, and basically she was taking a bad shot. Now I'm assuming that was somebody you knew quite well.
That's my wife now. Yes.
That's your wife now.
Yeah,
okay,
it was
so
a few years ago.
So so what did she think about this fix that you did?
She knows the limits of her knowledge, so she refrains from comments when I'm working. But on the other side, I listen to her on things that she knows more about.
I get that.
I don't question her in her jurisdiction.
Because I guess I was just thinking if I cut a hole in our washing machine, my wife wouldn't be too happy about that. Maybe she wouldn't mind. I don't know. I haven't tried yet. So I did actually fix my washing machine years ago. The board went out, and the guy said it was going to be like $500 to repair it. So well, I'm gonna do that myself. Still working, which was like 10 years ago. So pretty proud of that.
Sounds like it'll be ready to have a hole drilled in it in no time, according to Matt. Yeah.
So now is that how you met your wife? You were repairing your washing machine?
Oh, that's actually funny. On the first date, when she invited me back to her house, there was a giant bookcase on the floor from IKEA that she tried to assemble. So on the first date, I actually assembled her IKEA bookshelf because she started it the wrong way around.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
That's funny. It was just going to be a kind of a throwaway joke, but I didn't realize that was going to...
It's almost like she catered the date to some activity that I enjoy.
Wait, you enjoy assembling IKEA furniture?
I used to, but not anymore now.
Well, that's great because basically she, like you said, she catered it to your tastes and said, okay, I'll make it fun for him. And it was also a test. Like, I could assemble this myself, but let's make sure I'm not dealing with somebody that doesn't know what's going on. And I guess you passed the test, and now you're married. And
I think it's a good idea.
I never thought about that. I should, now that I have kids, I should tell them when you start dating somebody, you need to make sure you have something broken, and if they can fix it, then you can keep dating them. Otherwise, they're out the door.
Yep.
Yeah, Pat's giving the
out
thumbs
the
back.
Yeah.
Where does that expression even come from? I tried to
Get out of
describe
here.
it, but I
Isn't
guess.
it baseball?
Oh, that's right, baseball.
yeah.
Because you put your thumb out, you say, "You're
Yeah,
out of here."
you got to yell it in a particular voice from the cartoons of the 70s, 60s.
We're rewatching Mad Men right now, and I still love that show.
I watched Mad Men.
I haven't watched it.
I
How did you
watched
like
the
it?
whole thing. I don't understand what it was about. I don't understand.
Well, it's mad. They're mad people. My
Are
wife
they?
asked the same question, like, why is he acting in that manner? And I'm like, well, it's a movie.
Well, I mean, everything just seemed like that's the way people were terrible that long ago.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
business people were horrible people. It's just there's nothing. But aside from the reality of that, what was it? What was the goal? What was this journey going? I didn't understand.
It was just living life in the moment.
It's a show about nothing. They were basically
Copying Seinfeld.
taking the concept from Seinfeld. Yeah, and they say, well, that was real successful, so we'll be.
Did you guys see there's a Twitch live stream 24/7 of AI generated animated Seinfeld episodes?
No.
It's terrible.
That
Don't.
sounds-
I mean, it was fantastic to see that it happens. It's ridiculous. It's all animated in real time with Unity, and they have the apartment with everybody walking around and just moving their arms and say it's terrible animation, but it's.
I kind of want to
Oh,
see
everybody
it now.
should
Are
see
you
it.
too into these AI generated things?
Yeah, it's a script, and sometimes they read the stage directions. It's.
I checked out this ChatGPT thing, and everybody knows who's going to be the next millionaire, or however you call it in America.
I hope it's me.
Oh yeah.
Who will be
yeah.
millionaire?
What is that? Who wants to be a
Who
millionaire?
wants to
That's
be a
the show.
millionaire? Yeah, and I told it like, yeah, write an episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but with my wife as the candidate, and she tells a story about whatever, and it really manages to write it in exactly the same style as these encounters go with the host and with the contestant. Like he asked the contestant like, so you've got a crazy story to share. Oh yeah, here's my crazy story, and then it comes up with this little crazy story, which is really a tame story. And then at the end, the host just like, oh, that's nice. Let's start with the first question. And it understood what that show is about and how the dialogues are like.
Huh.
And Alexa can't do any of that.
No.
No, or Siri.
No, but Siri, Alexa, and Google give you correct information when you ask a question. It either says I don't know, or it gives
good
you
point.
a correct answer. ChatGPT just says things that sound plausible, but you have no way to know.
It's more like a human. just make stuff up. Like, oh, I don't know that, but
Yeah,
I
but
do
is
know
that human smarter than a fifth grader?
I
Also a game
don't
show.
know.
And probably
I
true.
tried it out, having it write in Arduino code, and that was perfectly fine. It wrote the
Really?
Arduino
Yeah.
code. Yeah.
I saw people asking for Home Assistant, whatever they call them. I was going to say sketches because you said Arduino, so the word's not in my head. But automations for, like, you tell it, I want the light to turn on when this happens, when, you give it a paragraph of the description of what you want to automate, and it generates Home Assistant configuration.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So wait, I understand more about what Max is talking about. So you're saying you can just tell it, say, ChatGPT, write me a program to turn a light on Arduino, and it
Yeah.
writes it for you?
Yeah, I did exactly that. I said, make a LED blink for 5 seconds, then stop for 5 seconds, and then start again and let it blink for 5 seconds. And it decided on its own, okay, attach LED to pin 13, for example, because it knows the Arduino
Right.
pin is 13 for the onboard LED. And then have the button on, a potentiometer on A0, because it knows the potentiometer needs to be on an analog input. And then it made the whole code. I also made one with a camera slider, and I think it was correct. I couldn't quite understand it because it had something with bytes in them, which I don't understand.
And
these expressions. But
ChatGPT could do the opposite too. You could paste a code that you don't understand and tell it to explain it to you in English, and
oh
it will
yeah,
attempt to
yeah,
describe it to
behind
you.
the code lines, it did explanations of what the code line does.
Oh, it did comments?
Yeah,
Well, it does more
yeah.
than that. It'll tell you.
Wow.
It will give you a English paragraph summary of what this is attempting to do, and sometimes it can tell you what's wrong with the code.
Wow.
Wow, that is.
And it works in German and English just natively. First I just tried English sentences, and then I tried a German, and it works just as well in German. It's incredible.
That isn't. That's kind of scary. Whole new world. Yeah, I guess that's a good segue. Talking about lights. So, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I actually made this thing. So I made this
Oh
thing,
yeah.
this light. It turns on. Automatically based on a transistor and like a resistor voltage divider setup. It's supposed to be basically if it has no light, then it turns on.
Yeah, an auto-igniting light.
Auto-igniting light. Exactly. So as the start comes on, if it's light, it goes off. Basically, it's like a little PCB. The whole story is basically I had this idea that I had this backpack. It'd be cool if I had like a little light on it that could just light up and whatever, shine a little bit. And it's like, well, I could hook it up to CR2032 battery, just have it run all the time. Made something on my laser cutter so I could just hook it to itself. But then I'm like, well, I could make it just cut off. So I kind of came up with this. It's got a transistor, a couple resistors, and a light. So basically, as you said, it auto ignites when it's dark, goes off when it's light. And, I'm not the first person to make something like that. I mean, you see these in your yard or whatever. But I do feel like it's a nice like display of, maybe like a learning tool or like how you can basically just display of your electronics and stuff. And it's a nice
Yeah.
little like key fob or something like that.
Well, what I think it's cool for, for kids, they need to be visible at night. At least here in Europe, they walk to school at night. I'm not joking.
Yeah, make sure your children
They
are
walk to school.
visible at all times.
Yes, yes, they need to be visible. I'm not joking. They put LED lights onto kits, so here kids could solder them themselves, understand how it works, and then attach it to the backpack.
Yeah. Well, I thought about that. That's a great idea. And then I was thinking about it. And yeah, you'd only want it on at night. But then I thought, well, if the car is coming at you, you really want the light to be shining. But but then the car light could turn it off, and that's a problem.
Yeah, but if the car light is turning it off, the car could already see you. You're
Well,
illuminated
that's
now.
true. It's quite the paradox. Anyway, I thought it was kind of cool the way it turned out. But I was thinking, I could sell this on Tindie or some other like, online purchasing site, or I could do like a Kickstarter on it. And it seems a little bit minimal, not minimal. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem.
I know what you need for the Kickstarter for that. You need a beautiful box, beautiful design, where all the components fit in neatly, and it's like, oh, it's like this little cigarette pack that I buy, and it's a full afternoon for my kids to play around with.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to spend 20
That's a
bucks
good
on
idea.
packaging for each one.
I've been watching Mad Men. You need to sell the experience, not the product.
Well, no, that's a good point. Good, I was thinking I could sell this, but like I was saying, it just seems kind of it doesn't seem quite interesting enough for Kickstarter, but it does seem like what's the risk in it? But like you were saying, if I was to make it like package it nicely, which I have no idea how to do, but I guess I could figure it out. Then
Do a CAD design, send it to China, pay somebody on Fiverr to do the drawings for you, the graphics. Tell the Chinese people to put or the Americans, because you probably make it made in America.
I mean, it's assembled in America, so
It's only assembled in
yeah,
America if it's sold in
American kids.
America because it's user assembled.
that's true. I could buy all the parts, sell it as a kit, and I could say made in America if you get it shipped to
Yeah,
America.
well, wherever you advertise it, it's made in, right? That's it's made in
Yeah,
Germany. If Max puts it together, if he buys one,
Yeah.
assembled. It's
made
assembled in
in
Germany.
made. It could say assembled in the homeland, whatever land you happen to be from, so where
I
you're
had an
assembling
ad
it.
a few years ago for a cereal bar, and they made the ad look like it was manufactured in my hometown.
Really?
And it was like an automated ad. Wherever you were in Germany on Instagram, it would say like, "Oh, we're from your hometown, and we just created this cereal bar." And back then, my wife, she worked for the cereal company that was in town.
Really?
She
And it
said,
wasn't.
"Yeah, that's a lie. They're not manufacturing with us."
Maybe it was a new competitor, a new startup she hadn't heard of.
Yeah,
No, probably not.
but I
But
think
no,
these kids could be great if they have like the educational aspect for kids.
couple different ways you could go with this. You could have the educational aspect, which I think would work nicely, or you could just have, well, this is a beautiful thing for people that want to show off their electronics. Like, oh yeah, it's got a resistor, transistor, whatever. Just kind of a cool like display piece. Or you can have other people that maybe want to wear it as an earring, or I don't know.
Nobody wants to wear it as an earring.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Or it could be a Christmas tree ornament. You could like I was thinking, you could put these up. You don't even have to plug it in. You just
just put a battery.
You can leave it up. You can leave it up all year. Yeah. So
Make
I don't know.
a special edition for Christmas that's shaped like a Christmas tree.
That's a good idea. Or I could even etch a Christmas tree on the front. That's a good idea too. Glad I talked to you, Mac. Glad you've been watching Mad Men for our educational value.
I tried the whiskey thing, but I didn't like it.
An old fashioned?
Yeah, I did an old fashioned.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, with a little bit of orange zest in there, and like a little bit of sugar syrup, and just ice cubes. Oh, and the bitter, Angostura bitter. It's not that great.
Not for you.
Not a fan.
You drink whiskey, Pat?
I do not. I'm sorry.
You're from Dallas. Are you not a cowboy?
No, absolutely, I am not a cowboy. And I don't even have a hat. I have no boots. I don't know how to wear a hat.
That's not the hardest thing. I mean, you just put it on your head.
Yeah, but it's weird. I don't feel right if there's something on my head.
But do you sometimes go to these Texas barbecue pits? Is it a barbecue pit?
I don't know if it's a pit. I don't know if there's a pit involved. There's a lot of barbecue places in town though.
Yeah, where they smoke for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
The brisket.
Yeah, we have a lot of those places.
Do you go there?
I don't go anywhere anymore. We had a pandemic, and then I learned I could get food delivered to the house, and I don't have to wait in line or pay at a counter or it just food comes to me now.
I feel like that's like a proverb or something.
And we've been ordering groceries for way longer than the pandemic, getting those delivered. I'm so glad we never go to the grocery store anymore. I don't know if you guys enjoy the grocery store, but I don't enjoy it.
I don't. No.
I like going to Costco because it's like you don't have a lot of choices. You just get it. It's like it's not shopping. It's buying. It's my older kids they're getting old enough. I can be all right. You get the pineapple. You get the whatever. Maybe back in the cart. It's awesome.
But I heard it's not organized in Costco. That the locations always change.
Oh yeah, that's not cool. They do like switch up like the bread is and stuff. I'm like, where did that go? But I think like the idea is that they want us to like wander around and see like, oh, that's like an inflatable hot tub over there. I could just get that as a $500 impetus purchase. What's the word, Pat?
Impulse.
Yeah,
but usually impulse purchases are like the $2 candy bar by the register, not the $800 inflatable hot. I don't even know how much an inflatable hot tub would cost. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I saw one there before Christmas.
Do you inflate it? Do you have to use your lungs, or does it have a?
Well, I don't know. I've got an air compressor, so
okay.
I guess I could use that.
I think the good thing with the inflatable is that it's already insulated because it has air in it.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Well, you've sold me, Pat, or Max. I'll no, probably not. I did, a couple years ago, my wife said, why don't you see if, because I think we need a new vacuum cleaner. She's like, next time you go to Costco, why don't you see what kind of vacuum cleaners they have there? And so I saw one, I just bought it. It was like a couple $100. But it was awesome. It was like it's a Dyson cordless vacuum. Anyway, that was a bit of an impulse purchase, but it's been like the best thing ever because you just, you get a mess, you just take it out the charger, suck whatever it is, and then put it back, and it's great. I could, maybe I'll be a door-to-door salesman for vacuum salesman.
Do they still sell Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door?
I don't know. I'd be like, go away if they came to my door. I'm not really a real fan of door-to-door salesmen. No. Do they have those in Germany, Max? Is that a thing, or is that?
And nowadays, these guys are really sleazy with the vacuums. But they sell you a €1,200 vacuum, and they say like, well, this is something you need. Crazy that people buy this stuff.
Are they good vacuums at least? Are they?
I think they're just as decent as a €200 vacuum.
Okay.
But this whole company that sells it is like it's a scam basically. It's how to scam the customers to spend the money.
In Germany, do you guys have the Henry vacuums with the eyeballs on them?
No, that's only a British thing.
Really?
Nobody has them in Germany. I don't think they even sell them here. And in Britain, they love it. They love it that it has the eyes and get the Henry, and they do jokes about it.
Yeah.
No, nobody ever heard of it here.
Huh. I don't know about this either, but
It's a vacuum that has two
Yeah.
eyes,
Yeah.
and the thing is its nose. It's like a little elephant, basically. It looks
It
cute.
looks like a tiny
maybe
shop
I think
vac
Yeah,
I think I did see that on
on the internet.
X Robots UK.
James Britton.
James Bruton or
Bruton.
Brutton. Doesn't he have a vacuum? Maybe
Yeah.
that's the kind of vacuum he has
He's got the
playing
vacuum,
like.
yeah.
Because I was thinking that was just a shop vac. I thought he just put eyes on it, but that's actually how it comes.
Yeah, with James Bruton, have you had him on again as a guest?
No, but we should. I've seen some fantastic stuff he's done recently.
Yeah, I think we had him on as one of the last guests where I was still on board, and I'm still amazed by how much he gets done in a week. He posts so many videos with so many designs in it. And it took me half a year for the trash train, and he just, I'd build a robot that can go upstairs. And next week I'll build a bicycle that you can ride on. Well, we haven't heard what the pet is up to yet.
I am for real not up to anything. Do you want to hear about my my washing machine story? It's not about a washing
sure.
machine though, but it's close enough. Our heat and air conditioning here in Dallas, it all comes out of the ceiling. It's all vents. There's ductwork up there, and there's vents all over the place. Well, usually the lights we use the lights in the ceiling in the living room, and that was too bright, I guess. So we were using a lamp for a while, and we were using a lamp right under one of the vents. And I looked up, and I see all this black around the white vent. Yeah, that's the face I made, Jeremy. And I went up there. I took the vent cover off. Sure, there was mold on that vent. So I got my flashlight. I'm going to every vent in the house. That was the only one. The only one with a problem, and if you go up deeper, I'm looking up, I'm sticking my head in there, got nothing, no mold up there, just on the vent cover. So I threw that away before I even searched around it. I ordered a new vent. And I thought, well, I'll never figure this out. We'll just keep an eye on it. Yeah, I think Reddit told me that if one of your vents, because they're metal, if it's getting too cold, you might have some condensation, so I'm like, okay, so we'll keep an eye on it. I don't think anything of it. 3 days later, my wife says, is it dry in the house? Should we get one of the humidifiers out? And then I remembered when Chris got out of the hospital 2 years ago, we were running a humidifier right next to her, right under that vent, like 24/7. I mean, we didn't have a meter to tell us how much humidity there was, so we were just blasting humidifier up at that vent. I was so relieved when 3 days later she pointed that out, and I was like, oh, I don't need to watch this like a hawk every month for the next 3 years to see if this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
Well, glad that all resolved itself.
I find this condensation issue really difficult to get my head around. Like, you can insulate a wall, and suddenly you have a mold problem just because it's insulated.
I've never had to deal with it really, but it's some nasty stuff for sure.
And everything I read was pointing at you, Jeremy, because it's so much more humid in Florida. We don't have a lot of humidity here, so it's a weird problem.
One of some of our not our next door neighbors, but some other people we know in the neighborhood, they were saying they have a rental unit that they rent out, and they were saying basically their tenants, they left for whatever, like a month or something. It didn't turn the air conditioner on at all because they thought that made sense, but apparently it was all moldy by the time they got back.
Yeah,
so
no dehumidifying that the air conditioner does for
so
you.
that's not something I would have, even though I grew up here, it's not something I would have thought of, just because it's not like I'm leaving my house for a couple months at a time, and it's not like you ever had the air conditioner off.
No.
I mean, even last night, we had we had the air conditioning running last night for a while, which maybe sounds insane to some people, but it's
not to me. Except we've had the heat on for a week.
When you build a house, all the walls, they're concrete and bricks here and plaster, so everything contains moisture, and you need about 1 or 2 months after the house is finished, where the walls still breathe out all of the moisture. But if you hang up your picture straight away to the wall, and you put a bookshelf at the wall, and you don't leave like this big of gap behind it, you will get a really thick black mold behind it in no time, few weeks, and you don't notice it. You can take up the first picture first time after years, and you look behind it, and it's completely black mold.
Huh. that's not something I would have thought of, but I'll have to keep that in mind if I ever have a house built. I
Yeah,
mean,
it happens
is that
quickly.
a problem in the environment in Germany, or is that everywhere? Is
No,
that
it's just a construction that you, for plaster, you put water in, and for the concrete and for the mortar,
oh,
Yeah, and the
right,
water
it
works
doesn't
its
have to
way
be
out.
drywall.
right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, houses here, a lot of them are made out of brick. I mean, some, a little bit farther north, they make them a lot of out of wood and stuff. Actually, I'm not certain. I'm not certain if our house is brick or wood, but I think
I
Most
did not know that.
houses, even in the south here, are wood with a brick facade. The
are they?
framing is all wood.
Or I shouldn't say bricks. Cinder block was what I meant to say.
Okay.
Yeah, same technology.
I'm more ignorant about this than maybe I should be. I'm almost certain our garage is all cinder block, but I don't know about our
It's
actual
hurricane
house.
proof, isn't it, in Florida?
I should know that. I should know the answer to that. A friend of mine, he was having his house like redone or what. He bought the house and it's like right on the coast, and he was just talking about how expensive the windows they had to put in were. It was just like because they were supposed to be rated for huge amount of impact, and I think they were quite large too. So
Housing is expensive everywhere.
more some places than others, I guess. Even here, it's like the value of our house has supposedly gone up so much, and it's like, well, what's the point in that? You got to live somewhere. It's not like I could
Yeah,
sell this and
move to Maine.
yeah, yeah. I guess I could. I don't think I could live that far north. It seems a little too cold for me.
I don't want to pay for all that heating.
That's actually the least of my worries. I think I'd just be very cold all the
You
time.
would be very cold all the time.
But you get more seafood. No, well, Florida, that's the same.
Yeah. Well, more lobsters, I guess. They've got the Yankee lobsters there. We have the spiny lobster. The lobsters. You get the lobsters in Keys, and they're not actually lobsters. They're technically crayfish, but everybody calls them lobsters because they look like lobsters. They don't have claws, but they're delicious.
Safety
So
lobsters.
safety, yeah, safety lobsters. Yeah. But no, they're delicious. And I haven't done it in a long time, but man, it's so much fun to you dive down and you try to get them out of their holes and put them in a net and stuff, and
You've done
then you eat
that?
them that night.
You've done that?
Yeah,
You
it's
dive for
it's
lobsters?
skin dive. I mean, I didn't have tanks on, but yeah, I mean, 6 feet of water. You go down, you put like
Wow.
a stick inside their hole, and then you bother them to come out, and then you whack them, and they back up into your net, and you're like, "Yay, I got dinner." And then
I've never seen that. That would be a great YouTube video.
it'd be a tough one to make though.
Well, if you're making it, Jeremy, you could do it with a tank.
And I am technically certified to dive. I took the class long enough ago that I don't feel real confident in myself anymore. You know what I mean? It's a nice thing to have in your back pocket if you ever need to do it.
Yeah, if you live in Florida, the water might come sooner than you think.
Never hurts to know skills that might help you at some point in the future, I guess. Well, Max, I feel like we've had a great conversation. Is there anything else you want to talk about today, or is that you feel
No,
like
sure. It was great talking to you. Good to catch
yeah,
up.
yeah, for sure. It's always good to talk to you, and thanks for coming on. And and thanks, back in the day thanks for thinking about doing this podcast. It's just
Yeah.
you know, it's cool.
Well,
So,
it's glad to see that you got with Pat. You've got a really good partner, and that you continue the whole thing.
Yeah, I hope we're doing
And
a
I'm
good
glad.
job.
I think so.
I'm glad it's going that well.
But Max, I mean, if people wanted to find you, where could we find you?
Oh, on my YouTube channel, Max Maker on YouTube, and Max Maker YouTube on Instagram, something like
Okay.
that, or Google Trash Stream. And you too?
So yeah, you can find me if you Google Jeremy Cook, I should come up. I'm on YouTube at Jeremy Cook, so that's pretty cool, I guess. And then on Twitter at Jeremy S Cook.
Or didn't you delete Twitter yet?
I did not.
I deleted my account.
I feel like now Instagram and Facebook are following the same path as them, so it's like are people going to delete their accounts for Facebook and I don't know. Pat and I said we weren't going to get into the weeds in this too much, but
I have not deleted my Twitter account, but I have not touched Twitter in some number of weeks. I don't know how many.
But you've got the coolest Twitter profile
Oh yeah, you
picture.
can't delete that, right? Maybe things will turn
It
around.
must be worth some money.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's worth a lot. I value services based on whether my head spins or not. You log in, and they say, "Oh, you can upload a profile picture," so I upload my animated GIF, and if it doesn't spin, I'll move to the next site.
well, okay. That being said, Pat, where can we find you if we?
Well, you could find me on Twitter, but I haven't said anything in a long time. If you just Google Pat Regan, I'm dropping I'm dropping. There's 2 comedians ahead of me. Like, one of them does funny music and the other one's a stand-up comic. And there's another guy who has UFO conspiracy books. These people are all ahead of me. You'll never find me if you just Google me. But if you go to patshead.com, there's a link to all my stuff everywhere. There's probably still a link to Twitter.
And, you know, if you look up Jeremy Cook on YouTube, you may find Jeremy Clarkson Cooks with Gordon Ramsay. So that's not my video. That's another guy. Anyway, well, thanks Max for coming on, and thanks for introducing the show. It's nice to have that load taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good fun. I hope I'll see you around sometime.
If I'm in the neighborhood, I'll come say hi.
Yeah. Your kids can ride a trash train.
Oh, I want to see a video of that. Is that
I would
safe?
like to see that too.
Do they just stick their heads out of the little like Oscar? Do you guys know Oscar the Grouch? Do they have him in Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Oscar aus der Tonne. Oscar from the trash can.
Is he still green?
No, he's blue, I think.
Oscar is a different
No,
color
that's
in every country. Totally
Wait,
confused
Is he
about
blue?
that.
Is he blue or green here?
He's
I don't
green here
even
for
remember.
sure.
Because they're definitely a blue
green. He's green, but he's a little bit dirty.
I wonder
As
why he
one
lives in
would
the
be.
trash can. They never really answered that. I guess he just does.
But he's also got a trash can here. He doesn't have the bin.
Oh, he has a trash can. I mean, a metal trash can is where he's always lived.
Yeah, it's not a plastic bin.
No.
You know, maybe he's afraid of all the Wi-Fi signals and stuff. Maybe he feels like he needs to block out the RF noise.
Yeah, he's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know, people were protesting against 5G.
Yeah, but they protested against 4G and 3G and Wi-Fi every time.
I'll give them this. 5G is quite confusing as to what it is. So maybe they were confused. Because, you know, it's 5G is not one technology. It's like it's all these different microcells, femtocells, beamforming, it's different frequencies. And I'm going way too far into this. And then you could also say, oh, well, it's 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which isn't even the same thing.
No.
So maybe these people were very confused.
Yeah, I wonder what's the big purpose? Because, okay, you can beam across like huge amount of data, but why would you? Like, why would my forklift need to beam huge amount of data to some place?
Maybe
Because we're always seeing the like interconnected factories and everything can communicate. Yeah, can't they communicate over Wi-Fi? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, yeah, I'd rather have a wired connection, but that seems like better for factories.
Well, you can't wire your forklift, Jeremy. It's just problematic.
It could be like the trolley in San Francisco or whatever, but it'd be like your forklift. You know, you have
You
like
have
a
to be
connection.
underneath the. Yeah.
It's a one-dimensional forklift, so you can just go back and forth, but you can't.
It's like these dogs on a leash that go back and forth in their backyard.
No.
They're like on a.
It can be like the
on a
bumper cars.
wire.
Bumper cars
Yeah.
have an antenna. It's not an antenna, but a wire that scrapes across the roof, the screen roof, and
Yeah.
the metal. The
And
floor
the
is metal,
floor-
so it's
Yeah.
a complete.
And I always
section.
think, what happens if a basketball player steps on the platform and reaches up to the ceiling?
Not good. It can't be good. I mean, those carnivals do not exactly have, good safety equipment, right? It's all sketchy.
Oh yeah, that makes me so nervous because it's like, you see these carnivals that are set up by people that, who knows what level of, I don't want to insult them too much, but who knows
Yeah,
what level
you
of.
can't say it without insulting them.
It's not, you go to Busch Gardens, you go to Disney World, whatever. They have probably hundreds of engineers that have worked on this, highly trained people. But then you go to Bob's Carnival that just set up last week, and who knows? They got
And who knows where
5
they're even
guys.
buying their rides from?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
But it's probably cheaper.
Probably
So-
cheaper. You're right about that.
Can't put a price on that.
You can't put a price on your life. It's a good place to end it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, Max, it's great talking to you, and
Same with you too.
yeah.
Hope to talk to you again.
Keep up the good work.
I don't know when, but at some point. Nobody has to leave, but I'm going to hit stop in all the places here.